So, Shweta, is being wonderful knowing you, and you're such a lovely person, bubbly person, very academic oriented, very focused in your work, and you have ambitions at this age, which is very good. You know your short-term goals, you know your long-term goals in terms of profession and growth and all of that, and you are helping your team also grow, which is a wonderful sign of a good management. So everything is in place. You are a beautiful human being, but things have not been really good sometimes. So, would you like to talk about the times when you felt, yes, this is not real, this is abuse, I need to now voice it for people to understand?
So, um, I think it's very important to recognize that you're being abused. And for the longest time, I didn't recognize the abuse as abuse. Um, I think I was justifying it somewhere. I was pushing it under the carpet. I wanted to believe that I have a normal life and that the abuse part of it, if at all it exists, is minor, can be ignored, can be worked with, can be lived with. There are bigger things in life. But what happened some time ago, earlier this year, was that I started interacting with people who are leading very high functional lives. And one of those people, when I visited his place and I saw him interacting with his wife and his children, and his children are the same age group as my son, that interaction really hit me. But I was like, this is not what happens in my family. So something is wrong. There is something wrong happening in my family, in my home, because this is not how I get spoken to. This is not how my son gets spoken to. Then, very close to that incident, another incident happened where a friend offered help, and that help would not benefit him in any possible way. It was generous help. And it was for the first time that someone had offered that kind of help to me without any expectation in return, where I was not a giver, I would be a recipient. And that was a very weird experience for me. Why is someone giving to me? I've always been the one to give. It was, and I was not able to accept that help because I've never accepted help. I've never received help. I don't know how to receive it. I didn't know I deserve it. And
Ah,
that feeling, okay, that somebody wants to do something for me and I deserve that people should do something for me and I should gracefully receive it. And then I realized that, oh God, if I'm not able to receive help from someone and feel that I deserve to be taken care of, and I don't have to give anything in exchange, that means something is wrong. This is not normal. Those two incidents very close to each other really hit me hard and forced me to understand that I'm being abused.
so, will you like to elaborate on maybe 3 to 4 symptoms where you felt that yes, this is abuse and this is normal, and this is where we normalize the abuse? So, how would we recognize, how would anyone else recognize this?
Um, in my case, the symptoms were very overt. The abuse symptoms, they were overt. There was excessive surveillance. Um, I was being made to isolate myself. So if someone offers me help, support, even if it's not help, it's just friendship and emotional support, that person would be isolated from my life. That person would be targeted. I
Yeah.
not encouraged to be in touch with my family. My friendships were broken. My relationships were targeted. So it was very overt. There was nothing hidden about it that one had to discover. But I think since it happened gradually over time, over a decade, it was hard for me, the person who's being abused, to notice that it has been happening. I was groomed into it. So it's the grooming that the abuser does. And I think you need a very active support system. You need, uh, I have realized that it takes a whole village to help you break the cycle of abuse. It's not one person's job at all. So it takes that village to help you see that you're being abused and then to help you stand up on your feet and get out of it. While you may look at me on the outside and say, hey, she's educated, she's empowered, she runs a business.
Yeah.
So if she cannot be abused, and she's definitely not somebody you would label as a victim, a sufferer. And then you don't know what's happening behind closed doors. And you don't know that even for someone who visibly is empowered, it's very, very difficult to break that cycle of abuse and to come out of it without support. That's not possible. And in fact, if you hadn't been there, I wouldn't have survived it.
But the team was there. As you said, the entire village is behind, has to be behind. And
So I have
everyone was
received
doing their job.
unconditional support from you and team, from my own team, people whom I work with, people who I am working with, as in my clients, the candidates, the clients, the colleagues, the business, the people who are engaged in business with me.
And
Then
the universe. The universe.
and all these people and family, and then the people who have become more than family in this whole process. So what the universe does, how the universe works, once you recognize that you're being abused and you decide to end that cycle, I think the universe then starts supporting you, then that village activates.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, Shweta, you explained very well. For the other people out there who are going through the similar cycle, but they don't know whether it is abuse, or even though they know, when they know, they're not able to come out of it.
It takes a
So, but what is it?
get out.
Yeah, it takes a, yeah. What it is like to be healed? I mean, you are healing, the process is out there. And what does it feel like? Okay, healing now is taking place. Now you can smile with more, more bubble in your heart and mind.
When
Yeah.
I was today, I was remembering this, that when I was in in one of the peaks of that abusive phase, and I was desperate to end that abuse. I was wearing the same dress, and I came to your house. Okay, and I was in a very, very different zone at that point, and I thought I must wear this today to show that the cycle has completed and I've started healing. I'm no longer crying. Um, but what does it feel like to know that the healing has started? Very interesting thing. I took my son on our first mom and son bonding road trip recently. And I had a team meeting to attend in Chandigarh. And I thought, let me make it a bonding time for us also. And he's been on road trips with the family, but it's never been just me and him. We went on that road trip, and I decided this time to take an automatic transmission car. And normally I do manual driving. I love to drive. It's one of my hobbies. So another symptom of abuse, I started off my married life as somebody who would drive through sand dunes, lakes, jungles, mountains. I could do cross country driving. I could drive any car anywhere. And by the time I came out of it, I had forgotten that I could drive. And I had lost confidence that I could drive on a normal road, a normal car. So for me, this solo road trip that happened was like a shout out that I am now empowered. I'm reclaiming my life, reclaiming who I am. And when we started off this trip, this time I took an automatic car for the first time. And it was within half an hour, 1 hour of that drive, something switched. I realized that when I've driven manual all my life, and I've loved it, it's also correlated with the life I've led. No, I have been in charge. I've been in charge of what speed to drive at, where to drive, whom to drive, and I've taken care of all my passengers. So there's been Shweta, the caregiver, and that's how I am. So I'm programmed like that by now. Even if you don't know that you have a problem, I will perceive that problem and solve it for you, even if you're not asking for that help. So because I'm so programmed to be that giver, no, and not be a taker at all, and not even know what it is like to take. And I keep saying this because I feel people like me are more prone to getting abused. That's the feeling that I have now strongly. So when I started using that automatic transmission, I felt suddenly now I don't have to worry about changing the gears, and I can relax and drive, and I can let go, and I don't have to be in control, like, obsessively in control. And that started me thinking this weekend that what is it like to not be in fight or flight mode all the time? What is it like to not have to worry all the time? I'm not worried about changing the gears. So I'm now concentrating on enjoying this drive. I'm not worried about so many things related to this car because it's so automatic. There's so many functions. And I don't have to be the one who is responsible for every small thing. There's so many things this car can take care of on its own. And I could draw a strong analogy with what kind of life I've led and who I've become in the process. And then I went to this fantastic human being's house. His family just enveloped us in a lot of love and care. And I think from a non-relative, non-blood relative, I have never received so much unconditional love. And it was mind blowing how much they did for us in that short time and how loved they made us feel, how warm they were. Um, it, it it's not about how big your house is. It's not about how many resources you have. You may be the richest person with lots of resources. That doesn't mean that you're willing to share those resources with others. That it doesn't guarantee that you have an equally large heart. And when we came out of that experience where we'd been loved so much, the kid didn't want to leave. He told me, I want to live here. I'm not coming back. And I also felt that, I found a family away from a family, and I know I can trust. So it was one about trusting, learning to trust again. When you're abused, you don't know how to trust others. And then when I drove back, I found that my kid's caretaker was with me, and she started making videos of me. And she said, do you know that this is the first time I've heard you sing? And then I realized, oh God, it's almost a decade since I have sung. And I was singing along the way, like that entire drive. Um, and I found my voice back. So that's how these small, small things make you realize that your healing has started. Otherwise, you don't know that the healing journey has begun. And while there are so many things going on in the background, there is a lot of there are a lot of things to take care of. But at least I'm not overwhelmed by them. I'm dealing with them, and I'm also able to heal. Sometimes it's not about having space to grieve. Like you don't cry a lot, you don't grieve openly. You're not able to. It's not necessary that you are somebody who can cry loudly and the whole world will see how much you're crying and how you're grieving. That may not happen. But how do you know that you're healing? That's how I have learned in the last few days.
Yeah, it is really, really important. And which you have overcome many things and you have understood about this journey and you're healing definitely. So your smile on your face says it all. And I'm sure that Shweta, other people who are listening in to this video will also get empowered. And I think that is also what you're aiming at, to empower other people. Knowledge is power. Once they know that they're going through this, and this is abuse, and abuse is an abuse, is an abuse, it needs to be acknowledged, addressed. And Shweta, you're doing a wonderful job. I'm so proud of you. Blessings.
Thank you so much.